Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Akil and joining me today is Bob van Luijt, CEO and co-founder of the company Weaviate. Weaviate is an AI native database for the next generation of software and very crucial in today's infrastructure with Gen AI. He's been there from the start and has grown this company to over 100 people worldwide. Truly incredible, and he shares many learnings throughout this journey and his experiences. Everything from hiring to driving a strong vision and actually getting funding as well, because that's what you need when you're growing. So enjoy.
I'm of the opinion that investing, especially when it comes to startups, the people who are like really good at that, who do that for a living and are very good at it, because there are also people who do it for a living and we're not that good at it. So the people who do it for a living and are very good, it's like it's a profession. It's like a real profession. You really need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not that.
Okay.
I like a founder. I like an idea. And it's like, if I can help you, let's go. Right. So I've been helped in the beginning of Weaviate, and now this is my way to do something back to help.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, so, some do very well. It's kind of nice. You get an email, hey, you invested this and now it's worth that. You go, that's nice. I didn't really do anything. So, but sometimes they call me or they ask me for help, and then I try to help. But you also have people, and again, I mean, it's your money, so you can do whatever you want. But I'm not a big fan of the, you need to take my angel check because I know how stuff works. And there's a lot of angels who are like that.
Really?
Yeah.
You absolutely don't seem like that type of guy.
Well, no, I think it's inappropriate. It's like, it's very interesting. It also, these people also tend to always be older dudes. Right? Yeah, they had a company, they sold it when they were 55 or something, and now they will tell the younger generation how you build
what to do.
Yeah, this is all BS.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your perspective, either from your own or from what you've seen in your network, what does make a great founder?
A founder or an investor?
Founder.
So, well, that's a good question. Well, there are things that you have an influence on as a founder and things that you do not have an influence on. So let's start with the things you do not have an influence on.
Yeah.
That's just where you're born, when you're born, and if you got a little bit lucky, that cannot be underestimated. That's a big percentage.
Yeah.
And so then the stuff is, what can you influence? So I believe that there's a famous saying, luck favors the prepared. So going to places, involve yourself with people, be around people where stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So if you see that, this is nicely described in the book, The Rise of the Creative Class from Richard Florida, where he asked many questions, but one of the questions is like, why do cities tend to work as magnets for creatives? And I would definitely see a founder as a form of a creative, right? Not an artist, but it's a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you live somewhere, let's say, doesn't matter if it's in some rural part of the US or Europe, wherever, right? It's better to go to one of the biggest cities, the bigger cities, because these cities, they tend to attract similar like-minded people, and then you get a hive mind.
Yeah.
And in tech, the hive mind, the big hive mind is of course in the Bay Area. But you can find it in Amsterdam, you can find it in New York, you can find it in Berlin. It depends on what you do, but it's harder to do that if you just live somewhere, remote. Yeah. You can also do it online. Okay. So the hive mind also exists online, but it's a mixture of things. So a founder does that. So he or she is involved in those kind of things.
Yeah.
You need to be able to rally people around your idea. That has to do a little bit with personality and those kind of things. Like, I want to work with this person or for this person. That's very important. If you can bootstrap, but if you need money, then that's indirectly related, because people need to believe in the idea.
Yeah.
and you just need to have you need to keep going. It's like you need to really be able to. Takes a long time to get there. So it's those three things I would say you see in a founder. But mostly it's just you just meet somebody. Go, okay, this is a nice person. I like this person. Great idea. To talk about it. Nice, right? That's how it starts.
Interesting. I'm wondering because I always ideate about kind of running or starting something for myself, but I never know where to start. Like I feel like I am in a city where a lot of stuff happens, but for example, how to find people that are like-minded, kind of with this startup mindset or something that they want to create, kind of the creatives that you talked about. How can I find them? Is that more the meetups, conferences, or?
Yeah, I mean, so you're part of the majority, right? So everybody has an idea.
Yeah.
If you do not have ideas, then that's kind of you're not human, right? Everybody has ideas, and of the 100 people, 95 people just don't do anything. So they don't start something themselves, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, right? So you work for a great company, so that's fine. And then of the 5% that's left, 4% of those, they start a consultancy business to tell other people how to do stuff.
Yeah,
which is I did that too. Which now looking back is kind of I feel embarrassed for it. But it's like, what did I know? But people gave me money for it, so that was thank you, people. And then that one person that's left that starts a product business. And so why does that person do it? I think it's a little bit why does somebody become an artist? Right? It's not fun being an artist, especially not if you're if you're like just below the top, right? That's just not fun.
Yeah.
But you still do it because they might love the art or that kind of stuff. In the case of a founder, you might like the building or you have such deep passion for it. Can come from many things. Can come from things that people experience in the past. If somebody had like something in childhood or something that gave them that fire in the belly to go. It's often those kind of stories.
Okay.
Right?
How was that for you?
Yeah, just, it was not always fun at home, right? So it's like, that gives a fire, what you call the fire in the belly, right? And then you just, that then somehow structured and gets together. You escape. It's a form of escaping something.
Okay.
And and then you just keep going and going and going and going. And then at some point it's like an airplane, right? At some point you have enough wind under the wings and then the plane goes up.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, finally, yes. Yeah.
But if I look at like what you've achieved now and I look at Weaviate, it's a niche. It's very specific and I'm not sure if from a decision perspective that's conscious, because I hear an advice usually that's like, okay, look at your total market cap, see what kind of niche is in there and actually see if you can solve a specific problem. And if it's specific and it has a lot of people that at least want to purchase whatever you're selling, then you have a good fit, right? Product market fit.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. So I'm looking at my phone now, not because I'm not but coincidentally yesterday I was looking something up. So let's see if I can quickly find it, because I actually don't. That was actually something I like to think of was a smart move, and that's the fact that. So I'm in the database market.
Yeah.
Right. So I have it somewhere here.
Is it total market cap?
Yeah, the total. I have it somewhere here, but the total market cap of the database market that's growing here. The total database market because of AI is expected to grow in 10 years to just south of 500 billion.
Okay.
So if you look at the Nasdaq, right, you see the biggest still Oracle, you see Elastic, you see MongoDB. And Snowflake. That's in the top 100. That's already 4 just pure database infrastructure companies.
Yeah.
And then I'm leaving off other infrastructure companies like Datadog, etc. That's huge. The database market is very big. So the market cap is potentially huge. Yeah.
So was it a conscious choice to venture into this specific market, a database company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd that choice kind of arise?
Yeah, just because I saw the opportunity. I mean, it doesn't. In hindsight, it's always a little bit easier.
Yeah.
To just to pretend that you foresaw it, which of course is not true. But what is true is that I saw this new data type in the form of the vector embedding, that a specific database system to support that didn't exist back then.
Okay.
So we started to build one, and we knew machine learning was a thing and deep learning was a thing. It just we didn't call it AI yet.
Yeah.
But so no, I was not. But that's the same thing if you look back at these early models from, if you're not at the database side, but on the model side with OpenAI and Anthropic and those kind of things, who would ever imagined that these? I mean, take a company like Databricks.
Yeah.
Databricks was just a spark out of I believe it was out of Berkeley. I believe a couple of students. What is that? 15, 20 years ago, something. They just raised, just before the end of the year, they raised another round before going public. Did you see how much money they raised?
No.
$10 billion.
Wow.
That's nice for infrastructure and databases. So no, I wouldn't say that. No, I would disagree that the database market is tiny. It's actually rather big.
It's quite big. I didn't expect that. I mean, one of the things that's holding me back from, let's say, actually executing on the ideas that I have, and this was different from what you said. I think I need to have a good idea. But your advice was actually the skill is to rally people around your idea, make them believe into your idea. Does my idea, if I start something, does it actually have to be good, or is it more lie in the execution and the flexibility of it?
I mean, define good.
I don't know. It's very subjective.
Yeah.
I have to think it's good.
Yeah, and or just take another perspective. You need to like it. You know, if you like competition,
Yeah.
and if you like the statistics being against you, open a restaurant.
Okay.
A lot of people open restaurants still, though, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. One day, I hope I can open a restaurant one day. That would be cool, or like a wine bar or something. But you don't do that. That's the reason you do that is not to. I mean, in my case, would not be to make a ton of money. And some people can even do that.
Yeah.
And like famous chefs and stuff. But it's just a business, and I'm not sure. You just need to like the idea. It's like, hey, I have a great idea. Let's do this. And you're gonna start, and it might fail. So what? You're gonna do something else. Doesn't matter. But it needs to be fun, right? It's a purpose in life, because you work on that stuff a long time.
Yeah.
So you need to enjoy it.
Okay. I mean, when you say it, it sounds very simple, I must say. In my head, everything is complex, right? Finding the right idea, actually putting in the grit to get market buy-in, figuring out all these things I don't know, because I think there's a lot of things I don't know right now. And then rallying people around it and trusting them with this idea that I have to do things together. I really like collaborating, so doing it with other people would definitely help. And then executing on that. And for that part, that's already for starting something and then creating something that might be valuable, right? Scaling is a whole nother beast, I feel like.
Yeah, but I mean, so you're a smart guy. I'm not that smart, so that's a blessing, because then you just do a lot of stuff, and then you encounter something you're like, oh boy, now we need to overcome this. What else can there be on the other side of this? Can't be much. So then you overcome it and go, oh shit, now there's more. So it's like if you're good at thinking about these kind of things, or if you're a very deep thinker, or you're very smart about these things, then that's great, good for you. But that might be holding you back.
Yeah,
it's what they say. Is if you see a couple of birds fly and they talk about survival of the fittest, that the mistake often is in the word fittest, that they think that's the bird that's flying up front because it's physically fit. That's actually not true. It's the bird that's in the middle, because it's the bird in the front that's going to fly into, I don't know, like a windmill first. It's the bird in the middle. That's the bird that, that makes it. So it's being an entrepreneur is perfect for the average Joe and the average Jane. Those are because You might have a passion. You might be a little bit T-shaped in something you know. But then it's, that's a reason to look at artists.
Gotcha.
It's not the best guitar players that became famous guitar players. It's there's something to that. It's hard for me to articulate, but there's something to it. It's like rarely the case that the great scientists will also turn out to be a great entrepreneur. That's often not the case.
Gotcha. Can you walk me through kind of this very early product phase that you had with Weaviate? Because I know some people that are starting up something, and I've seen different aspects. A mindset of going to the market as fast as possible and getting feedback with a very rough MVP. Might be bugs in there, but the faster you can iterate, the faster with the feedback you can solve it. And there's another camp which has this kind of, if I put my idea out there, it's a great idea. Other people are going to see it and they're going to outpace me. So they're in more of a stealth mode, I feel like. And some people still not live. So that stealth mode can actually be a long, long time. How was that for you with regards to going to market?
Yeah. So first of all, there's not there's no one way, right? So and for us, the idea. So we started as a project.
Yeah.
So there was a project about the vector embeddings, and in that case, they came from Glove. Is there added value in storing data based on its vector representation rather than something else?
Yeah.
Which is a project. And that gained a little bit of momentum, like just tiny bit. But people reached out, hey, what's this? Give some presentation. Yeah, that's nice. And that started to grow.
Okay.
And that's the nice thing from open source. And then it became, it started to more lean towards becoming a database on its own. And then a lot of open source communities started to complain because it didn't scale up and all the basic stuff, which was good because then open source, you get that feedback from open source community.
Yeah.
And then we decided to really turn it into a full-fledged database.
Okay.
And the joke in building a database is always, it takes you a beer and a weekend to design the API, and then it takes 10 years of actually building the thing.
Yeah.
So to build that's very hard, and it depends on what you do. So if you build a consumer-facing product, completely different go-to-market. I don't know anything about that, but I work in the open source domain, and then specifically in infrastructure. And there's a certain life cycle to these types of companies, how they function, how they operate. So infrastructure works different open source than frameworks, let's say.
Yeah.
And you become aware of those things by doing it. And then you can plot that on histories of successful companies. And you can basically say, are we showing similar patterns than those other companies?
Okay.
So, and open source is a beautiful way because you somehow need to overcome the problem, or not the problem, but the question, how do I know if what I'm creating is valuable? Because when you create open source, there's a delta between starting and that it's a business.
Yeah.
That takes a couple of years because this is hard technology to build. That takes a long time. So you look at other metrics than pure business metrics to say, is this valuable or not? And we started in 2019 and we started selling in 2023.
Yeah.
So, and I would say 2019, we were really looking for, so I would say the business really kicked off when we got our seed money. That was the moment, and it was a year later. So I would say between halfway to 2020, it took us 3 years to really get to the product.
Gotcha.
And then you look at open source metrics to say, like, is this taking off? Yes or no?
Yeah. What metrics are you looking at? Like specifically adoption, stars, and those types of things? Or?
Yes. Yeah. And there's one downside with that because the moment you focus on something, people start to game the system.
Yeah, of course.
And gaming the system is not per se a malicious thing. So it's not that people, fake something. But let me give you an example. So everybody who signs up for our for sandboxes, and that's a lot of people. They get an automated email from me, and that actually says this is an automated email from me. But if you respond, it's actually me responding back.
That's nice.
So I get a handful of emails per day, not a lot, but a lot go out, but a small percentage. So conversion rate of 1 or 2%, let's say. But at the bottom of the email, there's also a PS that says, hey, but I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me. A lot of people do that.
Okay.
So that grows faster. But if I would change that to, I don't know, give us a star in GitHub, then that would grow faster. Probably. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, exactly.
And if I would direct it to X or to Blue Sky, that would probably grow faster. But LinkedIn is our platform of choice to communicate over. So that's a logical thing to put there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky, but it's also, you also need to keep yourself honest. So like, how are we doing? Is this going somewhere?
Yeah.
And then finding people around you who are knowledgeable about these older companies who did that open source, who can look at the data and say like, yeah, no, actually, this is actually good. That's not good. Oh, that's great. And you can compare it with other open source statistics and those kind of things. So it's not hard to do. It's just you need to put in the work. You need to have all your dashboards ready and that kind of stuff. And then later, when you start to make money, the role of open source changes again.
Okay.
Because now it has a top of funnel function. And that's also very important. So then it has more to do with sales and those kind of things. So it's a whole machinery that open source brings to you that you can get from the quantitative aspect. So if you look at our database, it takes us on average 7 days to measure startups of the database so that people start using the database over the whole world.
Okay.
So we cover the world in around 7 days.
Yeah.
And that's all data you can use, right, for whatever you want to do. So that's how we do it, and that's the role of open source. But it takes time.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for me, it's still fascinating that if you have something that is open source that is part of core infrastructure, usually infrastructure needs to be resilient, needs to be reliable, and in most cases, right, if you want something that's established, you'll look at established software. Sometimes not even open source. But the fact that things can still grow in adoption shows kind of autonomy that developers have, right? If a piece of open source solves a problem they have and is free of use, they can try it out. And if they like it, that can lead to adoption in the end. That's why I feel like this part of a company, the business, I think they call it open core, where your software, your core is open source and you might have a managed solution that's kind of your core business, is gaining popularity. And I've seen companies grow where indeed they start with something open source and then they think of what can be the business aspect of this, or they're starting a business and then they want to open source kind of part of their core to then find that adoption or community aspect of it.
Yeah, because so finding an infrastructure, again, that's the thing that I've knowledge about.
Yeah.
The finding adoption for something completely closed is hard.
Very hard.
And you want to have that feedback cycle going, that people tell you stuff.
Okay.
And that's open source is ideal for that. And I'm sometimes surprised also that people sometimes it surprises people that the open source business model works, which then in turn surprises me that they are surprised about that.
Are these technical people?
No. But the it came from freemium model in the gaming industry, and it worked tremendously well.
Absolutely.
And that seeped into infrastructure, and that works well. And the question is, look, if you build infrastructure, you do two things, or you do something better. You do something better, faster, or cheaper, or you do something new.
Okay.
So those 4 options you have. And the first 3 is very difficult to position. And because business-wise, people rarely pay for better, faster, well, and obviously cheaper. That's what's
it's easier, yeah.
But something new, that's different. So if you do something new, you jump into it. So let me give you an example. So Jeff Bezos famously said, "Your margin is my opportunity." Right, and of course, with margin, he meant marginal price. But you can also look at it differently. So, disruption theory beautifully explains how new products can enter the market. And it's because companies, they focus on top line products, not on bottom line products, for obvious reasons, because that's the margin where they make the most money on.
Yeah.
So now something new emerges, which is very obscure. That is the vector embedding from a machine learning model. These companies don't care. They go like, whatever. What is this weird thing? So new startups emerge who focus on that. They're small, they're lean, they have one focus, that is building that kind of stuff. So they build fast. Now all of a sudden something dynamic happens in the market, e.g. AI becomes a thing. So machine learning turns into AI, as I like to say.
Yeah.
And these big companies go like, oh boy, we're not there. We don't have anything. Oh, these startups do.
Yeah.
So what do developers do? Well, if I can't get it from where I used to get it, I'll just go somewhere else and get it there.
Gotcha.
That's how it works. And that's as old as that is disruption theory, right? So beautiful article by Clay Christensen where he explains how it works, how the market dynamic works. Beautiful book, The Innovator's Dilemma, that describes it. And it happened now and it will happen again in the future.
Gotcha. Yeah. So when we're looking at a company, at some point you grow into the stage of, we can go faster if we hire people, right? People that can help us execute with these paths. Our business is resilient enough for us to actually hire people, and we don't have to scale for numbers, but we scale for growth, and we grow diligently. So at some point you're going to attract talent, but for that talent, they have to decide and believe in what you're building, right? Because you're comparatively and relatively small, or at least people like startups, that's what you have going for you. But compared to a bigger tech organization, things like Amazon, Google, or Meta, comparatively exceptionally small. Why would they choose a startup over, let's say, something more big and established? Because a startup can fail in the end. Or how did you distinguish yourself?
Something big can fail as well, but it's fair enough. Startups tend to fail faster. So, it's very simple. So I remember that the first resume we got in from somebody at a big database company, and I'm going to obscure the name of the database company because I don't want it for the because this person still works at.
You'll find them.
And he wrote a cover letter, and the cover letter said, that was the first time in the cover letter that somebody wrote, "I believe that these vector embeddings are going to be the future of data management. My current employer doesn't think this is the case.
Wow.
So I want to work for you."
Gotcha.
It's like, that's a good reason.
Strong.
Yes. And then you give somebody salary. And you give somebody equity in the company. And if things go up, you make significantly more money than you work for an employer.
Gotcha.
So that's a nice deal.
Simple. Yeah. Are you of the belief that startups should always give equity then when they hire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. So it's like, if you're a founder, you can do whatever you want. But I think it's a good idea to do that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Why do you think it's a good idea?
Because then people have skin in the game. They're part of what you're building.
Yeah,
it's good. Part of the excitement.
Gotcha.
If the numbers go up, then
everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy. If the numbers fluctuate or go down, even worse, then people get nervous. They get
back to the wall.
Yes,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's good. And of course, people need to live. So people need to, they need to pay their mortgage. They need to, feed themselves, whatever, right? So you also give them a salary.
Yeah.
But the name of the game is the equity game.
Gotcha. What's been your philosophy on people going to the office, working in office, or companies mandating office policies?
Again, so if you run a business, you should do whatever you think is the right thing to do. So let me preface by saying that, because I really believe that. But I think the whole office thing is BS. So we don't have an office. We just crossed the 100 people mark. we're fully remote from San Francisco to Berlin and everything in between, and then a little bit in Japan and Australia.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's great. This is great. And Spotify recently put something on the wall in I believe they even had it on Times Square, where they said that they're gonna stuck to remote work, and as a reason is like our employees are not children.
Yeah,
which I found very funny, and I absolutely agree with. This doesn't, by the way, not mean that people can travel. So right now, while we're recording this, my whole go-to-market team is somewhere in the US. They're together. Go-to-market leadership, 4 people, and then they have all their teams. So there may be, 50 people there in total. Okay. And they're working on go-to-market stuff. So they get together, they do stuff, or the database team might get together so it's not that you don't get together, of course, but you're not together by default. You're remote by default. And but again, it's whatever works.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I strongly agree that people are not children. Like, we're adults. We can do our work from wherever. I feel like it's a risk management and more of a trust issue. And you can more closely micromanage if you see people working. And it's a very old, kind of outdated thought.
Yeah. And so when you just picked me up, you said, like, I like to receive here because I think this is a beautiful office.
Yeah.
Great. Fine. That's good. If that's a good reason, right? So that the thing, what I think is a lesser good reason, but still, if it works, it works, is there also founders or the leadership in the company who like to see the people. It's like, I'm in charge of this group of people.
It's an opposite thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that should not be underestimated. So, and that is something that I'm not a big fan of. But again, if it works, whatever. We're building a business, it needs to grow. If that's what works, then let's do it.
Yeah. Have you seen kind of your skill set also evolve with growing this business? Because I think, as you mentioned, you're 100 people now, probably a little bit more. The business is fundamentally different than when it was just a few people, and it will continue to grow, which will also mean it will continue to evolve. Yeah. Do you see yourself here for the long game, and how's the skill set need to evolve?
So it's definitely evolving.
Yeah,
I enjoy it a lot. I think I do a better job now than I did when we were, let's say, 15 people.
Gotcha.
If that will stay the same, we're 500 people.
That's good.
I do not know.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll deal with that when we get there. Right now we're here, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun. So we'll see.
I love the flexibility and also seeing what's current, right? If you're having fun right now, then why change? And if that does change, then you reflect and think of, okay, what's next?
Yeah, and it's you just have an idea, you have a vision, and you execute on it. Yeah. Again, the people are tremendously important. So you need to have a healthy mix of great people. I always think of the people in the company as 3 different types of people.
Okay.
And you try to have a healthy balance. And and I enjoy doing that.
What are the types?
Oh, yeah. So it's mostly it's structured by age.
Okay.
So so let's start with the oldest group. So that's 40, 45 plus.
Okay.
Those people you attract to the company because they have experience.
Yeah.
They have an experience, they did something somewhere, and you would like to tap into that experience.
They
and
can
you want them
execute.
to bring that to the company.
Yeah.
Right? Can be anything. Can be in leadership, but it could also be an amazing engineer who has seen this or that, and you want that knowledge in the company.
Yeah.
Then in the middle, that's the 30, 40 range.
Okay.
This company, needs to be their home run. Right? This is setting their career.
Okay.
If they are successful at your company and they're 40, then the rest of their working life, they're going to be fine.
Exactly.
And the better they do, the finer they will be. Then everything before that, to the young people in the company, they do not have the experience, but they have something that the experienced people do not have. And they can tap into the zeitgeist. So how your product evolves, how you do marketing and those kind of things comes from that group. They know what the new generation finds cool and what they want. You need that. You need to listen to them and you need to enable them to execute on it.
What is the ratio between the three types that you have in the organization? Or is that just arbitrary?
It's a bit arbitrary, but I think the middle group is the smallest.
Gotcha.
No, actually that's not true. The young group is the largest, and then we have the middle group, and then the old group, the experienced group, is a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But that's arbitrary.
Gotcha.
So whatever you need.
Yeah. And for the young group, because I recently came off a conversation where we analyzed, okay, hiring, and especially nowadays in this tech market, when you're coming out of your educational journey, I see a lot of people have a hard time actually landing a first job, right? That might be early 20s, that might be very early in career. I think later on it gets easier because you have some form of experience. But those first jobs are very hard. What's your take on that with regards to the current day market?
Yeah, it's I don't know because I started my career very early and I started my own business very early. So I was purely by coincidence yesterday evening at dinner with some friends, and somebody was talking about taking a break, and I was thinking about it. I was like, the longest break that I've taken since I'm working is 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
So it's more like a holiday.
Yeah.
And not because I didn't mean that in type of vanity or anything. It was just, I was like, I've actually always been working and always my own company. Yeah. And so my story is that I started my first company when I was 15, and that turned into a freelance thing, into a little bit bigger consultancy, and then into a product company. So I don't have that experience of getting out of school and then getting a job. That's just, I don't know. What I do know is that, so if we have we are an AI company that's pretty visible in the market. We get hundreds of resumes on certain types of applications in days.
Oh yeah.
So that's a lot. I also know that we don't look that much. If we need the experience, we look at it.
Yeah.
So, but then often we also reach out to the market ourselves. Okay. To specific people we target.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people that come in that, it's a great question. So it's the one thing that I also think is for a lot of young people, studying is the goal. And I think that's the wrong focus.
Yeah, I agree.
So if somebody comes out of school and is like, oh, I studied whatever, then then the only thing you've proven is that you know how to put in the work to get a degree.
Yeah.
But I've done stuff at universities for students. I have to say it's not very impressive what I see. It's like a lot of like, what, really? Sorry. It's just, maybe it's because people are young. I don't know. But I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And but there are few people in there. They're like, oh, that's a talent. But then that person is going to be fine. You know that you sometimes see like a young person, like 18, and you're like, oh, this person, and they start talking like, oh, you're going to be fine. Whatever, you're going to be fine.
And someone needs to believe in that person, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but it's like just kind of somebody says something, or the way that they behave, or that kind of stuff. So then you have the rest of the other group. Yeah. The sad thing is that I believe that this is a question to which I do not have an answer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I also don't know, to be honest. I like that you said that, like, the education is not really the end goal. For me, it was always a means to an end. And
exactly.
I shared with you, like, my parents are from Turkey. I'm one of the first people in my family to like graduate university, especially in Netherlands. It's like graduate university. And throughout that educational journey, my mom got sick. And to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to stop everything. I have 3 siblings. I'm just going to start working, right? Because it's a means to an end for me. The educational part is not the goal in and of its own. And then my mom said, absolutely not. So I finished my educational journey. But that was just so I could have a piece of paper and actually be at the starting line. right? Otherwise, I felt like I would start from behind, or that was kind of how I grew up. Like that was in my household. If you have the piece of paper, you'll probably do fine. So get the piece of paper. That's it.
And do you think that's true?
Nowadays, less and less, because I've met people that have had a completely different journey. So I feel like your behavior, your mindset, your work ethic, those are going to define you. And if you have a piece of paper, that's going to be on top of that. But indeed, for some organizations, it's like a barrier of entry. If you don't have the piece of paper, it's harder to get in.
Yeah.
I do believe that, especially in tech, it's very much community driven. So you will stand out even without that piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the piece of paper I have, I studied music. So that might not be helpful. So I didn't go to university. In the Netherlands, the school system I went to, it's like I didn't go to the highest school system that we have.
Yeah.
So if you look at just purely at my resume, like early life resume, you go like, nah, but I'm fine. I'm doing great. So it's I like to think that that's that does, that you can break that mold. What I do believe though is that there was this Dutch author who wrote this book about 7 characteristics that if you would have all 7 of them, then life would be easy.
Okay.
Right. So I mean the book from Joost Luijendijk. You know the book I'm talking about? So he talks about 7 characteristics.
Okay.
So I don't know about, but it's like went to the highest type of education.
Okay.
As in high school.
Yeah.
Went to university. You're male, heterosexual, white, parents born in this specific case in the Netherlands, but in the US would be US or something, right? And your parents or one of your parents went to university.
Gotcha.
Those 7.
Yeah.
And what he basically describes in the book is that if you miss any of those things, you have to work your ass off to prove so. So
even one?
Even one.
Yeah.
And the more off, the harder you're gonna get it. And so in my case, and the reason I like these characteristics is because sometimes we talk about, for example, the man-women dynamics in the company or people of color, those kind of things, which always seem to me like that's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But it seemed too simple.
It's not the only thing.
It's not the only thing. And so he defined it over these 7 axes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so in my case, yes, I'm a guy and I'm a white heterosexual guy, but didn't go to university. My parents are not highly educated.
Yeah.
So I needed to get into that ecosystem, which took a long time to get there.
I see.
So what was the point that I wanted to make with this? So when you look for a job, that plays a role. What I also like about the book is that it's just he is an anthropologist, so he just makes this observation. But it kind of also says like, so, but you can also do something.
Yeah.
And he's very careful with that because he's aware that he has all 7 characteristics. So he's very careful about it. But it's a reason to start to move. So that goes back to your earlier question of today, where I said like, where does the fire in the belly come from?
Yeah.
Well, if you are from a minority group, or you are person of color, or you are women, or you somehow miss a couple of these characteristics, that can make you pretty pissed off if you're not being treated as equal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that gives the fire in the belly. So you work hard. So you see that a lot of these people, these entrepreneurs, that they have such a story. Be it Richard Branson, be it all these, I don't know why I think about him, but all these people, they have a story that brought them to where they are. And I think that's an interesting dynamic.
Interesting. Something that lights a fire that makes you intrinsically motivated to work hard, I feel like. I highlighted, or at least in my mind, that when I asked what makes a good founder, you started with, there are things you cannot control, right? And these 7 characteristics is basically what you were given. And some stuff you can achieve, but a lot of stuff is also what you're dealt with.
Yes.
This hand.
Yeah. So the fascinating conclusion, optimistic conclusion, because you can be so the pessimistic conclusion is simple. It's like there's inequality.
Woe is me.
And then, and I'm not part of this, so, too bad for me. That's the pessimistic view. But I see the complete opposite. I have the opposite view. So a founder somehow needs to have the fire in the belly. How do we get it there?
Yeah.
Well, of these 7 characteristics that you can't control, and you miss a couple, and you feel left behind, or you feel not accepted, that's a good a fire starter. Interesting dynamic, right? So it's a catch-22. If somebody is born and by matter of speech, you could give this little baby a choice, they're probably gonna say, just check all 7 boxes.
Yeah.
But actually it turns out that a lot of people, newly successful people, I'm not talking about, inheriting money or something.
Old money. Yeah.
Old money. New money.
Yeah.
They have such a story. Interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's makes for an interesting life and interesting opportunities. So I see it as an optimistic thing.
I wonder if, and sometimes I've never looked at these 7 characteristics, but I've always looked at kind of hardships in life. For me, people that I talk to, people that I can think of, people that stick with me, they have a certain perspective on life. And usually when I really get to know them on a more personal level, I know they've gone through some shit. It might be some family illness. It might be their upbringing. It might be something having to do with a family relationship. That has given them perspective, and therefore they are different in life, I feel like. And that always sticks with me. It's different if you've had kind of a luxurious, lavishly life. Those people feel different to me if I have conversations with both aspects. That for me was always the experience of potentially trauma, potentially something significant in life that makes someone different. And that can also light a fire under your ass to start working or to start executing or to start doing something. And I'm definitely going to check out this book because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, so I agree with what you said. It's I know a lot of these people too.
Yeah.
So, but I think the moral of the story is that it's an optimistic point of view. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Not a loss.
I like that a lot. Yeah. One of the last things before we round off, something you mentioned in that you think you're a better fit for the company now that it's grown to 100 people compared to 15. I was wondering why that is. Why would you make a statement like that?
Yeah, well, it's a feeling. So it's like it's hard to put a number to it, to quantify it.
But there is a difference.
Yeah, because I think at some point I was asking myself the question, what does a founder CEO do? And then if you start a small company and you start the company, and in our case, the company is the holding company is in the US. So then you get like the official documents, and I see my name, and then it says my name, and it says President and Chief Executive Officer, and you need to sign it.
Huge.
Which is a formal document. Well, yeah, it's huge, but it also kind of feels weird because we're like 4 people. So
I'm just the guy.
It's like king of the hill, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the formal document, and then you sign it. But let's be honest, right? It's 4 or 5 people. So for a long time, I had on my LinkedIn just founder.
Yeah.
Or co-founder.
Okay.
And not. And then you just do stuff. So the anecdote that I often tell is that I wrote the first documentation for Weaviate.
Okay.
And when it was time to hire somebody to take that over, I was interviewing somebody who I end up hiring, and he's still at the company. He's doing an amazing job. And we had the interview, and I proudly said, like, I made the documentation. And he said, yeah, I can see that, and it's hurting my eyes.
It's horrible.
and so at some point, you hire all these people that are better at everything. So for example, my co-founder, HN, he's the CTO.
Yeah.
He's a rock star at what he does.
Okay.
And he's still CTO. And so he's amazing at that. But for me, that was a little bit more ambiguous. So now you get to a point where you have all these people in place who do these kind of things. So if you now look at the organization and you have structure, so we have my co-founder HN who's CTO, but then we have on the go-to-market side we have VPs of marketing, growth, sales, partnerships, and business development. We have VPs of finance, people in culture, and then everything on the tech side. So you basically have all these great people that do stuff. And now it's okay to call yourself, I think, a CEO.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you have this structure where somebody is then in charge. So the question then is like, so what do you do? And I was like, I don't know what CEO is. So I had to figure that out. So I have a couple of mentors that I talk to, and they give me input and feedback. Funny side note, so what we said in the beginning, a lot of these smaller companies that I'm an angel investor in, that I get that question a surprising number of people ask me that question. So I don't know. They go, I don't know what to do.
It sounds so strange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I started to define it, and I put it also on my website. It's like, I think, and again, you're running the business, so you can do whatever you want. That's always important to preface it with. But I think you do three things. And these three things are: one, you need to very clearly define a vision, a North Star. And then when you're smaller, you also take care of the strategies. And then if you go further, the people in your leadership team define the strategies to get to that vision. That's their job. And you need to rally people around that. The second thing you do is you need to have great people. It cannot be underestimated. 70% of companies in our stage, which is a growth stage, fail because of interpersonal issues.
Okay.
Or in which can occur in many different ways. So if you hire too fast and you have too many people too fast, that's very tricky and can be dangerous as well. People can get along with each other, that kind of stuff. So you need to have great people, great culture. That's number two. Number three is you need to have enough money. So money comes in two ways. Money comes in through revenue and money comes in through investment.
Yeah.
And you can balance that however you want. Investment is often misunderstood because you borrow money from the future with investment. And what you do is that you can execute faster. A simple example is if you have a lemonade stand and you want to have a big lemonade stand, you need to buy a lot of lemons, a lot of sugar, a lot of glasswork, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know there's probably market fit because people said that they like your lemonade. But you can't buy these cradles full of lemons and that kind of stuff. So you take some money, or you take money in return for a piece of the company, or you take money in the form of a loan and you pay it back.
Yeah.
So you can buy your lemons, you can buy your glasswork, you can buy your sugar, and you can start selling it. That's why you take a loan or investment. That's why you do it. So that you can be a step ahead of where you believe the market is going to be. That's the risk taking that needs to be part of your vision, right? So running a business means taking risk in the role of CEO. So that goes back to the first one. Also often very misunderstood. A risk-averse CEO is not doing a good job.
Okay.
If you're not taking risk, that means that your business is stagnating. A CEO who is concerned with cost saving and cost cutting means that he or she is trying to save a dying business. A CEO needs to focus on growth, on making more money. There's a beautiful a talk from the old CEO of Snowflake, Frank Slootman, where he very very well defines it. So he's not to diverge too much, but he gives a presentation at the CIO conference.
Yeah.
So he talks to CIOs, and he says, so there's like 100 CIOs in the room. He said, I'm going to explain to you why people like you do not report to people like me.
Really?
He said, yes, because when you come in, I have one concern. He said, every day I wake up with fear. And fear that we're not going to grow faster.
Gotcha.
And you guys come in my office to tell me what I can't do.
Exactly.
I don't want to talk to you. He says, I'm going to put you, make you report to the CTO or something. Yeah. And it's such a good point that he's making, because that goes back to the vision part. So it's like, you need to, that's why you get the money. Especially if you take for the bold vision.
Yeah.
Right. So in our case, infrastructure for AI. That's why you do it. That's the game you're playing.
Gotcha.
So those are the three things to focus on. And then going back to the beginning of our conversation, so we can nicely, because I know you want to. Right, so
Don't worry about that.
What we said about, so in the market, there's money that sits in these big containers from sovereign wealth funds, from pension funds, from endowment funds, and a couple of other things. They slice a little piece of that, 5%, which is still huge chunk, yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, not. And they take that little piece and they go,
there you go.
Try it, go. Take that risk, build that team, build that business, have that vision, go. And that's a beautiful thing in the market. And so that's and that's what you take, and that responsibility you take in this case, as a founder CEO. And I believe those three things you need to do with it. And that's what I do now. And as I told you, everybody I hired is better at how I was doing that. So I was doing a shitty job of that, but somebody had to do it. So, but then these experts came in.
Yeah.
So now I need to focus on these three things, and I think I'm good at that. Phenomenal. So. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's round it off here. I have really enjoyed this conversation, Bob.
You're very welcome.
You enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Yeah, you are very welcome, and I very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. If you're still here, let us know in the comments section what you think. Like the episode if you liked it, and otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.